Do you get what indigenous firm is? We call it indigenous firm because this firm is established by an indigene or a citizen of a country, and the business is still in operations in that country. That makes it an indigenous firm or indigenous business. Now, I said outline one challenge facing indigenous firm. One of the challenges that could face an indigenous firm is increased competition from large businesses. There's globalization, and Ireland is part of the European Union, which simply means multinationals can also set in Ireland. But when multinationals set in Ireland, they might become a threat to indigenous firms or domestic firms. So that's one of the challenges of facing indigenous firms. Because multinationals have the financial capability to exploit economies of scale. They have financial economies, they have technical economies of scale, they have managerial economies of scale, they have risk-bearing economies of scale, they have they have bulk purchasing economies of scale, and they have marketing economies of scale. All these form of economies of scale is a way in which firms, multinationals would reduce their average cost of production, which indigenous firms might not be able to do so because indigenous firms are expected to be small firms. So they might not be able to compete with larger firms. And why are larger firms in Ireland? They are in Ireland because there's globalization. They are in Ireland because they are part of the European Union, which allows them to set up in Ireland or to have their own business in Ireland. So indigenous firms in Ireland might face, increasing competition from multinationals setting up in Ireland. I think indigenous firm is clear. Mm-hmm. So that's indigenous firm. These are businesses that are owned by the citizens of a country and they are established in that country. So we could say indigenous firm in Libya is a business that is owned by a Libyan and the business is operating in Libya. But the problem a business in Libya can face is increasing competition from multinationals. So if multinationals are allowed to come to Libya to establish, they might become a threat to the indigenous firms in Libya. I think that is clear. So that's about indigenous firms.